Guys, what's going on? Today we are going to learn how to use a pot call or a slate call or a friction call with a striker, whatever you want to call it. We're going to learn how to do it. It's super easy, but takes just a little bit of practice. The first thing we got to do is grip the call. We don't want to lay it flat in our hand like this. The sound comes out of those holes. If we lay it flat, it really muffles it. No good. So we want to hold the call up on our fingertips like this so the sound can come out. And then we're going to hold the striker like a pencil. Now that we're holding both things, we got to bring them together. We don't want to be floating this hand around because a consistent pressure is very important. And when you're floating around like this, you cannot keep a consistent pressure. So the meaty part of my striker hand is going to lay on the side of the call like that. We don't want to be on the surface because it works on vibration, and having your hand in the middle of the call will kill the vibration. So we're going to rest the meaty part over there on the side. I like to wrap my pinky around like that and touch over here. You don't have to do that, but that's just what's comfortable for me. Now we've got to get our striker angle correct. We don't want straight up and down. We don't want way over here like this. We're looking for an angle about like that. Now that we've got our angle right, I'm simply just going to draw a little oval or a football shape. And through that oval, the striker never leaves contact with the surface. Because of the angle, it only makes a sound in one direction. On your backstroke, it makes no sound. So you just keep in constant contact with the surface to maintain the proper pressure. And when making that oval, we want to get the striker movement from our wrist instead of our fingers. If you use your fingers, the striker angle is changing the whole time you're making your oval. Whereas if you have your hand strong and you're just using your wrist, that angle remains the same the whole time, which is also important. And you'll notice when I'm calling, I'm up towards the edge of the call, not in the center of the call. I see a lot of guys at trade shows, they pick up a call and the first thing they can do is go right to the middle of the call and start working it, which is fine, but you get a much better sound in like the outside third edge. The closer you get to the edge, the higher pitched it gets. And so to get that high to low rollover yelp, we want to start towards the edge and work our way towards the middle. So we get the high pitch front end, and then the back end is going to be closer to the middle, and that's going to give us that high to low rollover. And that's the yelp. Pretty straightforward. For the purr, everything's going to be exactly the same with how we hold the call. I grip the striker a little bit tighter. We're going to go back to close to the edge where we start our yelp from, and then I'm just going to slowly bounce the striker across the surface. With the purr, you just have to experiment with different pressures, like how hard you're squeezing the striker, how much pressure you're applying to the surface with the striker, and the force pulling back. There's a combination in there that you'll figure out for your surface and your call and your striker. Everything's going to be a little bit different. But that striker's literally just bouncing across the surface. A little bit more challenging than the yelp, but not bad. Next, let's talk about cutting. Like the purr, I'm going to squeeze the striker a little bit harder. I'm going to apply a little bit more pressure than I do with the purr, and you're simply just going to pop it. And just like with the yelp, I'm starting towards the edge and I'm working towards the center of the call. So if you do like 2 cuts in a row, you get a high one and then a lower one. And again with that one, just like the purr, you've got to play around with how hard you're gripping the striker, how much pressure you're applying to the surface, and how hard you're pulling back. It's just like loading it up and then all of a sudden it just lets go. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward once you get it. It takes a little bit of practice. The big things are striker angle and a consistent pressure. Once you get that figured out, you've got it. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments or shoot me a message on Instagram or Facebook. Hope you guys have a great turkey season this spring, and we'll see you in the next one.